Imagine standing outside in the early hours of the morning. The world is still asleep. The air feels cool, the streets are quiet, and the full moon hangs low above the western horizon. But on this particular night, something is different. A dark curve begins moving across the lunar surface. Slowly, the brilliant moon loses its light until almost its entire face is hidden inside Earth's shadow. Then, instead of disappearing completely, it may glow in mysterious shades of copper, orange, and red. On August 28, 2026, millions of people will witness an extraordinary partial lunar eclipse, one so deep that it will appear almost total. But what is really happening? Why does the moon turn red? Can an eclipse affect our bodies? And why have wolves, werewolves, and spiritual transformation become so closely connected with the full moon? A lunar eclipse can occur only during a full moon, when the sun, Earth, and moon align with Earth in the middle. Our planet blocks the sunlight that normally illuminates the moon and casts its shadow across the lunar surface. That shadow has two regions. First comes the penumbra, the lighter outer shadow. As the moon enters it, the dimming is subtle and may be difficult to notice. Then the moon reaches the umbra, Earth's dark inner shadow. Now the change becomes unmistakable. A curved darkness appears along one edge and steadily grows. On August 28th, the moon will travel deeply into the umbra. Although the eclipse is officially partial, only a narrow portion of the moon will remain outside Earth's darkest shadow. It may seem as though the night sky is slowly erasing the moon. The moon's orbit is tilted about 5 degrees relative to Earth's path around the sun, so most full moons pass above or below our planet's shadow. An eclipse occurs only when 3 bodies align near the moon's orbital crossing points. As the moon darkens, it may become red, copper-colored, or orange. Even inside Earth's shadow, a little sunlight still reaches it, but that light must first pass through our atmosphere. The atmosphere scatters shorter blue wavelengths more easily, while red and orange light travels through and bends into the shadow. In other words, the eclipsed moon is illuminated by the combined light of countless sunrises and sunsets occurring around Earth. When we see its reddish glow, we are watching the colors of our entire planet projected onto the moon. But whenever a red moon appears, one question is never far away. What about the wolves? Real wolves do not deliberately howl at the moon. They howl to communicate, gather their pack, maintain contact over long distances, and mark territory. Because they lift their muzzles while calling and are often heard at night, it can look as though they are singing directly to the sky. The mythical connection is much older. In Norse mythology, a wolf named Hati pursues the moon, while another wolf, Skell, chases the sun. A lunar eclipse could be imagined as the moment Hati finally catches the moon and begins devouring it. During Ragnarok, the wolves were destined to swallow both celestial lights and plunge the world into darkness. Werewolves, however, belong mostly to folklore and popular culture. Tales of humans transforming into wolves are centuries old, but the familiar rule that a full moon triggers the change was largely established by 20th century cinema. Films of the 1940s helped make the full moon an inseparable part of modern werewolf mythology. So real wolves will not become more dangerous during the eclipse. And if you happen to encounter a werewolf, perhaps science has not explained absolutely everything. The eclipse will be visible across the Americas and parts of Europe and Africa, beginning on August 27th or 28th, depending on location. In Washington and Ottawa, maximum occurs at 12:12 a.m. In Mexico City, it arrives earlier at 10:12 p.m. Across Europe and Africa, viewers must rise earlier. London and Lisbon reach maximum at 5:12 a.m. Madrid, Dakar, and Cape Town see their key phases during the hours before sunrise. In Berlin, the moon enters the faint penumbra at 3:23 a.m. and the dark umbra at approximately 4:33 a.m. Maximum eclipse occurs around 6:12 a.m., but the moon will then be only 0.3 degrees above the west-southwestern horizon and will set roughly 5 minutes later. German viewers should therefore choose an elevated place with a completely unobstructed western view. Buildings, trees, hills, haze, or low clouds could easily hide the moon. Binoculars may improve the experience, but they are not necessary. Unlike a solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse is completely safe to watch with the naked eye. No protective glasses are required. Scientifically, the eclipse produces no special radiation, and the moon's gravitational influence does not suddenly change when it enters Earth's shadow. Current evidence shows no proven direct physical effect on the human body. Some people report restless sleep, vivid dreams, headaches, or stronger emotions around a full moon, but research has produced mixed results. Some studies suggest very small changes in sleep, while others find no meaningful connection. Excitement, staying awake later, watching the sky, and expecting an unusual experience can themselves influence how we sleep and what we notice. Even without changing our bodies, however, an eclipse can move us emotionally. Humans respond not only to physical forces, but also to symbols and extraordinary moments. Watching the moon enter darkness and emerge again naturally invites reflection. In many spiritual traditions, the moon represents emotion, intuition, hidden needs, and the quieter parts of our inner world. A lunar eclipse may therefore symbolize something concealed coming into view, not because it controls our destiny, but because its imagery encourages us to pause and look more closely. What feelings have I been avoiding? What am I holding on to, even though it no longer belongs in my life? Which truth about myself is finally ready to be seen? In spiritual astrology, Pisces represents compassion, intuition, dreams, and sensitivity. Its shadow can involve weak boundaries, self-deception, escaping reality, or becoming lost in other people's emotions. The invitation, then, is to remain compassionate without forgetting yourself, to listen to intuition without treating every thought as a message, and to let go without avoiding a necessary decision. You do not need an elaborate ritual. Step outside, look at the moon, and ask, what has fulfilled its purpose in my life? Which old story am I ready to release? What deserves more space within me now? Write your answer on a small piece of paper, fold it, and keep it as a reminder of what you recognized beneath this unusual sky. Perhaps the deepest meaning of a lunar eclipse is not that the sky changes us. Perhaps the sky becomes so extraordinary that we finally stop, look upward, and find the courage to look within. Earth's shadow never destroys the moon. It hides its light only briefly, and the moon remains there throughout the darkness. In the same way, our own light does not disappear simply because we cannot always see it. After every eclipse, the moon emerges again. Darkness is not always an ending. Sometimes it is only the quiet space we pass through before recognizing our own light once more.